What's up, my friend? Are you a small business owner that loves God, family, country, and capitalism? If so, you're in the right place. Welcome to the War Plan Briefing. My name is Joshua Latimer. I joke that I have a bachelor's degree in pain, a master's degree in suffering, as I've built and sold 4 companies, been totally financially destitute, been on the mountaintop, been in the valley, and everything in between. I've learned a lot of stuff earning my bachelor's degree in pain, and hopefully I can help you avoid some things. And today's video is awesome because I'm going to talk about 5 powerful lessons that Russell Brunson gave me. I've actually known Russell for many years, and here's the fun backstory. I wired Russell Brunson a whole bunch of money, I think in 2017, early 2017, because I had a software company that was literally about to fall apart. And I was at wit's end, and I found this guy on the internet, and he talked about funnels, and he talked about all this stuff, and I couldn't figure out the economics of that business to make it work. You know, we had done revenue, but I had never taken a penny out of the business in 6 years full-time of working on that software, Send Jim, and it was struggling. And so I took money I really didn't have, sent it to him. We had already spent $1 million in the software. The thing was like sort of working, but we were going to run out of money, and I was desperate. And Russell at the time, ClickFunnels was a lot smaller of a company back then. You know, I actually heard of ClickFunnels because I heard Russell on a podcast while I was on a beach in Costa Rica, and I thought, this guy sounds like he knows the answer to my problem. And so I signed up, and then I wired him money to join his inner circle. And Russell's inner circle back then had all kinds of epic people in it that went on to do crazy stuff. And so I go to these meetings and I start learning, and I have massive imposter syndrome because I'm in the room with, Myron Golden and Alex Hormozy and Brandon and Kaylin Poulin, who did over 200 million in sales. They're like 30 years old barely, right? And there's all these super high achievers, and I'm just like, hi, I'm Josh, and I'm about to totally go broke, and I don't know what to do. Please help, right? And but I learned so much stuff over the years of Russell helping me, and so I want to share some of those things. The first big lesson I learned from Russell was the power, potentially the importance of cycling. Russell told a story to the group back then that he was looking for a new mentor for himself, which I think is kind of a side lesson. I think all of us should have a mentor and be a mentor until we're dead, right? We never stop growing. We never stop learning. You take what you can get, and maybe you stay with someone for a while and you move on or you level up. And Russell was my mentor at that time, but Russell was still looking for a mentor. So that's kind of interesting. But the guy that he was working with would only coach entrepreneurs who had cycled. And I had never heard of this phrase before, but essentially what cycling is someone that's made millions of dollars and then lost everything and then did it again. And there's so many reasons why this is such a huge deal when this happens to you. And I don't want bad things to happen to you, but there's this humility that comes from realizing you don't have the Midas touch. Everything you touch doesn't turn to gold. Sometimes it turns to lead. Sometimes it catches on fire, even if your previous project was good. And it gives you this like quiet strength when you go back to ground zero and rebuild again. And Russell had done that. What people don't realize about ClickFunnels is right before he launched that, he had another company with like over 100 employees, and they got into financial trouble. He had to fire like 80 employees in one day. You know, one of my favorite quotes is that everybody sees the wine, but no one sees the crushing of the grapes. Have you ever had your grapes crushed? Russell's had his grapes crushed. I've had my grapes crushed. It's actually a good thing because it builds your capacity, and cycling can set you up. A lot of times the setbacks that we have in life are really setups, and the test that we go through is really a future testimony. The mess is our message, right? And these are the platforms that will elevate you. You got to understand that cycling is actually good in the long run for you. I learned that from Russell. The second thing I learned that was a powerful lesson was the power of publishing. Russell Brunson has been a nonstop, relentless, cymbal-clanging circus monkey of a promoter for ClickFunnels for basically 10 years. And when I first heard him back in 2015, 2016, he was just going around the internet being passionate about funnels. Now, don't tell Russell I said this, but technically, if you think about it, ClickFunnels is just a website builder, right? That's what it is. Now, that's a dirty word for ClickFunnels, okay? But the reason I say that is, how do you get someone excited about a boring piece of software? Well, you have to publish. That means you have to get your message out. You have to make noise. You have to do what P.T. Barnum calls a dramatic demonstration. You have to make a ruckus. You have to be passionate about your thing. And if there's one person that's an internet marketing nerd that's passionate about their thing, it's Russell Brunson. He's spent gajillions of dollars on ads, yes, but it's also iterating and writing books and testing ads. I talked to John Parks, who runs all of the traffic for ClickFunnels since the beginning. He's a genius. So what's up, John? And he told me that they test hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of different ad sets per month, right? Per month. A lot of small business owners will run an ad, or you'll do an advertisement, or you'll put something out there, and it doesn't work, and you get scared, and you run away and hide. What Russell taught me is that it doesn't matter if people are listening to you or not, because when you're screaming your message, when you're making noise, even if no one's paying attention, there's still massive value that's being created in you doing that. And part of it is you finding your message, finding your voice. It's refining your message. Have you ever heard the quote that you need to find something worth saying? Then you need to say it well, then you need to say it often, right? So these three things, each one of these is actually really hard. Finding something worth saying in the first place is difficult because the marketplace is noisy. People are distracted. We see 10,000 ads a day, right? But even when you're publishing and no one's paying attention, this is where you're getting your chops. It's where you're building evidence that you are who you say you are. It's where you're finding your voice and your message and you're getting good at it. And who Russell is today when he does a huge presentation to 50,000 people in an online challenge is not the same guy he was when he first started. And so that was an encouragement to me because all the people in his inner circle group, a lot of them were just publishing machines, and the rest of us were scared, but we became publishing machines because the only way to get really good at something is to be willing to do it bad in the beginning. I think that's a powerful lesson. The third lesson is understanding that marketing is actually a game of failure. It's a game of iteration. It's a game of messing things up. It reminds me of professional baseball because baseball Hall of Famers have a lifetime batting average around 300. Now, I'm not a baseball nerd, so don't hate on me if that's slightly wrong. But the point is that 7 out of 10 times you're not getting on base, which means if you don't get on base 7 out of 10 times, you're a Hall of Fame, top shelf baseball player. Marketing's kind of like that. And what people fail to realize sometimes if they have a smaller company is how valuable the one winner is when you get to it. So maybe you have a flyer or a postcard, or you try direct mail, or you're doing TV ads, or you're doing internet marketing or Facebook or Google. You're doing things to make noise. You're trying it. You're spending money. And you feel like it's just futile, right? But what's happening during that process is you're sharpening your sword. You're getting better. You're getting thicker skin, right? You realize that the little hateful comment you got didn't hurt you because your haters are your elevators. And so you're leveling up internally. But the other thing that happens if you do not stop, if you do not quit the game, is that you're going to find the right message at the right time to the right people with the right offer. And everything is different when that happens. Everything will work. It's wild what happens. And you don't have to take it personally when your marketing doesn't work. Because if you have the right message at the right time to the right person with the right offer, it will just work. Because at the end of the day, people vote with their wallets. It reminds me of a story, actually, when I was in Russell's group. I had my laptop. I was with him in person in Boise, and I walked up to him. He probably doesn't remember this, but I walked up to him and said, "Hey, will you look at my funnel and tell me what you think?" And he told me, no. He's like, "Josh, no." He didn't say it rude, but I was like offended, okay? He's like, "No, I'm not gonna look at your funnel." This is what he told me. He goes, "I'm always wrong." This is what Russell said. Russell Brunson said, "Josh, I'm always wrong. We have to split test it. The only way you're gonna know if it's gonna work is if you run traffic to it because people vote with their wallets." Marketing isn't personal. It's a game. It's a game of failure and iteration. It's a game of stamina. A lot of people are so close to winning, but they quit the band right before they get the record deal. And that one campaign with the right hook, with the right message, with the right offer, at the right time of year, when you get it right, it could be worth $2.3 million to your business in the next year or two. And yeah, you might have to dig through the mud for 6 months to find that, but the upside is so big when you finally get it that it's worth doing. So remember that. People vote with their wallets. It's not an emotional, devastating thing if no one buys your stuff. It just means they don't care about your stuff. It doesn't mean they dismiss you as a human being. They're just like, "Nah, I don't want that." So we have to go back to the drawing board and say, all right, how do I persuade them to want it? How do I create desire? And so that taught me so much about marketing in general. The fourth thing I learned from him has to do with what I call front stage, backstage. So people look at ClickFunnels, which is a $1 billion company now, over 100,000 users, right? Russell does these huge 5,000 person annual events called Funnel Hacking Live. You should all go if you're interested in online digital marketing. It's amazing. But it started out really small. And here's the other thing people don't realize is that as Russell was like the public-facing little circus monkey running around like, "Buy ClickFunnels, give me money, funnels are amazing, websites are dead, buy funnel," as he's doing all that the whole time, there was a machine behind him holding him up, propping it all up. And these are like the unsung heroes of really most successful entrepreneurs. So think of Russell, or think of the public-facing person of any business as the quarterback. And who does ESPN like to interview at the end of a football game? They want to interview the quarterback. But the reality is that the game was won in the trenches. It was won by the lineman, by the center, by the special teams players. It was won by that one critical tackle, by the second string defensive end, right? And businesses are like that too. And I want to recognize some of the people, first of all, that work with me with everything that we're doing, like Will and like Eric and like Ryan and like Chase, the guy that runs our ads, and all of our designers like Ron, or our editors like Ron, our designers like Shai and Lorax and all these people. There's so many freaking people helping hold up what I'm trying to do. And Russell had that too. People like Brett Peters, John Parks, who became a traffic guru because he had to, because he was involved in the beginning. And he's a brilliant family man who runs, multi-seven figures a month worth of traffic for the last 10 years. You have people like Dave Woodward, may he rest in peace as he passed away, who is the behind-the-scenes CEO, the glue of the company. He was the affiliate manager. So when you think of ClickFunnels is this huge thing, it started as a tiny thing, just like everything does. Don't despise small beginnings. And, then you have Russell's family, like his wife, Colette. Russell's a maniac. He has 5 kids like I do. And when you're working, 8 days a week, 25 hours a day, trying to push the rock up the hill to get people excited about your funnel building software, a lot of people have to suffer and sacrifice, and it's an amazing thing. So remember that with your business, that, don't forget to acknowledge the people that are backstage while you're front stage. And also, don't do everything yourself. If I'm saying this and you're like, oh yeah, I don't have a backstage, I'm the front stage and I'm doing everything else. Well, that's not good, because you can't go very far by yourself, right? You can go fast by yourself, but you can't go far by yourself. You need to assemble people around you that believe in your vision, that believe in where you're going, and you got to be generous with these people. And then last but not least, this is a really important point for all of us, is that Russell Brunson is obsessed with learning. Obsessed with learning. And this video isn't about me being like, oh, Russell, you're so amazing. He is amazing. But these are true things I witnessed with my own eyes over the last 6 years as I've interacted with him, and he's helped me. He literally saved my software company, literally. In fact, as a sidebar, when I paid him, at the time it was $25,000 in 2017, I believe. 90 days after I did that, he made me $250,000 in a 30-day window from one piece of advice that he gave me. And so thank you. I'll forever be grateful. And if that wasn't enough, Send Jim, my software at that time, it only had done $900,000 in revenue over like 6 years. We did $4.2 million in new revenue in 18 months following me giving Russell Brunson money. So I honor you, Russell. You're awesome. But I learned these life lessons that are applicable to all entrepreneurs, with the last one being that Russell's obsessed with learning. When we would go to Boise and sit in this room with all these fancy people, Russell would be taking more notes than anybody else. The other thing I noticed that he would do is that he would implement ideas he got from the mastermind in real time while we're still in the room. Before I got on the airplane to come home, they had already rolled out that new concept on their website or in their funnel or with their email or with the challenge or the marketing thing. They moved so fast, it was wild. But Russell was just a voracious note taker. He's upset. He's a nerd, basically. So my encouragement to you is, if you want an advantage over your competition, become a nerd. Become a nerd about the nuance of marketing and the game of business and people and communication and persuasion and all the things, not just a nerd about the technical deliverables of the thing that you sell. If you're a carpet cleaner, God bless you. You should have some competency when it comes to the chemicals and the nerdy stuff so you don't ruin people's carpet. But don't be an obsessed nerd on that. If you want to make a lot of money and you want to go further, be an obsessed nerd with marketing, communication, strategy, persuasion, all these other things. Hey, if you're getting value out of this video, will you like it? Will you actually click the like? It's not like a lot of work for you to do it, but it's helpful. And if you want extra bonus credits, comment. Tell me where you're from. If you like this video, what your takeaway was, and what you'd like to see in the future. We exist here to help you go faster. That is my job, and we're here for the long haul. Hey, I love you. God bless you. I'll see you in the next video.